Hi there. This is RJ Stevens, co-founder and CEO of Friends of Commerce.
And I am Matt Ricks, co-founder and CTO of Friends of Commerce. As previously mentioned in our other videos, RJ and I have been in e-commerce industry for a long time. We've seen everything and we've done everything, and we love to share what we learned over the years and from our clients. You can learn more about us and Friends of Commerce at friendsofcommerce.com. And today we're going to explain how B2B digital commerce impacts your bottom line and why.
Yeah, I mean, unless you as a B2B owner or operator are kind of just been overwhelmed by a deluge of emails and haven't really been seeing what's going on in the marketplace. I mean, the pressures on B2B businesses are, at a max right now, and it's coming from a number of different and new angles. We'll talk about a couple of those right now. First of which being Amazon. Amazon sees the same thing that everyone else is seeing, is that there's significant opportunity for growth in the digital component of commerce for B2B businesses. And so they are going after B2B businesses aggressively. They are investing heavily in B2B, tools and functions like, competitive business pricing, e-procurement systems, and many other things. And it's expected that Amazon will have taken 10% of the B2B market here in the US this year, and 5% of the market internationally this year. It's like $33.7 billion of revenue. So they're coming after your clients. The second thing is that the buyers are just changing. The buyer demographic is changing. A recent report from the MX Group that they put out noted that 44% of B2B buyers are millennials or younger. What does that mean? That means that they expect the same experience that they're through purchasing for B2B products that they would have for B2C products. They want it easy. They want it on mobile. They want it, on desktop. They want to be able to see a bunch of their information when and where they want it. And for companies that aren't doing that, they are going to be at risk. And for companies that are doing that, there's growth. So those are a couple of things that we're seeing at the top of the list.
We understand that change is actually hard. It's not night and day most times. Legacy business owners have orders, business and approval processes and their own manual structure to keep just the business moving, but long term is not scalable. And so what it does is it actually does limit your growth, and not to mention personal well-being. So, let's talk about some of these advantages. And just right off the bat, an obvious advantage is going digital eliminates, drains on business resources. And so the most effective approach to save money is to avoid losing it in the first place, which is spending time. Literally. And so costs related to order processing, human entry errors, and customer assistance costs obviously negatively impact your bottom line right now. So, just kind of think each of those processes in your head. One of your buyers places an order. What steps need to occur? Are the sales reps keying in the orders? Are your buyers faxing over or sending them over an email? That then needs to get translated into the order management system of some type. And then if there's an error, think about that whole process. What happens when there is an error in the order, which is, once again, is going to take some time, and it's manual time. Those are just a few examples of some of these processes that manual is just not really efficient.
Yeah, Matt, it makes me think of a current client we have where we're taking them through this journey right now. I mean, if we look at the way they were doing business, they had a website, but it just had a digital catalog. People had to call in their orders, to talk to a customer service rep or email them in or fax them in. And oftentimes if they called in, it actually rang to the CEO's phone. Like he actually physically took orders himself. I mean, it's crazy. They were so modernized on their manufacturing side as a company that made parts that sold through distributors, but their sales and business side were just still antiquated. And to expect, customer service agents to know your products backwards and forwards and be able to make product recommendations on complex configurations on the client side is just unrealistic. Where you can do that all online. We can make simple product recommendation, apps on the website. You can enable people to go online and see past orders, reorder the same thing just through a couple clicks, do it on their phone, not having to call during business hours. All those things are very, straightforward things that can really make a big impact on a business through application of automation of tools that are readily available today.
That's a really good example, RJ, because literally what we did was we made, self-service for customer ordering, building a system where the buyer can actually, log in, look at the products, get all the details, and then just build their cart and then check out on their own at their leisure and in the fashion that they desire. And so what this does is it obviously makes the ordering process much more efficient. Order processing costs are reduced, thanks to e-commerce. And so providing that quick, frictionless ordering experience is obviously a method to cultivate, client loyalty by giving them the tools to place orders, reorder, check out your products and those recommendations, RJ, puts that work on to your buyers at the time it takes for them, and they can do it just from their phone or their devices, freeing up, internal resources that were previously required to manage orders manually. And so that all that added benefit, is just going towards growing client relationships and revenue. Some other quick examples for you is quote management. There's a whole workflow there. The buyer has to gather the products, submit a quote. Your sales team, more times than not, needs to respond in there's systems now where that is all automated and digital and is handled through the system. Online ordering reduces also error rates. Putting the responsibility on your buyers to make sure that the order is correct is giving them, that accountability. Inventory management. As soon as an order is placed, inventory then is reflected. So at any time and through any of your other channels, you can see how much is on hand and eliminate, risks of overselling. And then obviously online order customer portal, which is the place where your buyers would log in. They can check out all their information as far as order history, where the order's at, when they're going to be receiving that, and then actually reordering with just a few clicks. And so opening up the doors for them to be self-serving is very efficient and will obviously help save time.
Yeah, and from sort of your customer perspective, it's all about like customer satisfaction, which leads to retention. For example, one of the stats that's also, I think, really sort of enlightening is that, McKinsey put out a report that the number one issue that B2B buyers have and what they're most dissatisfied about is delays in response time. So going back to Matt, what you were saying, like we had a client who we built a customer portal for because when their customers wanted a report, they would have to call in, tell the customer service rep what report they wanted, the type of report and all the data on the report. The customer service rep then had to go run the report, then download it into an Excel format, then attach it to an email, send it back to the client. The whole process took 2 or 3 business days. Clients want that information now. They're trying to make business decisions today. They don't want to wait 3 days for that information. Or the other one that you mentioned, Matt, what if there is an error? Somebody's got to catch the error. Somebody's got to find out what it is. Message back to the client. Hey, there was an error in your order. Can you change this way? Is that okay? The client comes back to you, says, yes, that's okay. Then you key in the order again. Again, that takes hours at best, days most likely. And that is damaging your customers' satisfaction with your process, and you're opening up your opportunity for someone who's doing it better to take that client, whether it's Amazon or a competitor directly in your vertical. And all this just leads to the expectations of your buyers are changing. You need to adapt to them or you're at risk. And that's about just making the process seamless, efficient, available, and enabling your clients to buy their B2B products just like they're buying their B2C products. So there's a lot more about this that we can talk about, and we'll do so in future episodes, but we appreciate you watching this one. For more information, you can go to our website, which is friendsofcommerce.com. You can like this particular episode and subscribe so you get notifications of ones coming up. And even if you want to have a direct conversation with us about maybe some of the challenges you're facing, just send us an email at info@friendsofcommerce.com. Be happy to spend some time with you. And if we don't see you there, we'll see you on our next episode.